Zoom. I'll get that. I get you. Quite nice. So.
Well, where is Al?
Is Al on?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the mute.
It's on mute. That's where you gotta get back to the Zoom script. You're on
YouTube.
yeah, on YouTube right now. Get back to the Zoom script.
Oh,
No.
oh.
Yeah.
As opposed to.
Did you let him in? Look at him.
Yeah. It is. One session.
Well,
Morning. Here.
Greetings.
can you hear us now?
I hear you guys.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We got it.
Think I got it?
We got it.
On the Zoom?
Oh.
We got one to me.
For the boss.
Anybody else in?
Everybody's in.
Okay. Oh, no, I'll just hold
Oh,
on.
we're doing 46? Streaming?
Yeah. We'll just.
So far.
Or ultimately, what we can do it. That is the goal, but yeah, I don't think it'll be. All right, I think we're. So it's got one, we're not that.
Vanessa, I got my email fixed.
Oh, good. She's coming out the computer, y'all.
What?
She's coming out of the computer.
No.
What?
She can't hear me.
I'm coming out of the computer.
Yeah.
Your sound.
Your sound is, yeah.
Am I coming through the computer too?
You sure are. It's not
Yeah.
coming through the owl today.
What am I coming through? The Magic Genie bottle?
Yeah.
Go back to your microphone there.
Okay, I think we have to change something.
See if it changes anything there. Yeah.
Right here.
Now there's an echo when you did whatever you just did.
Is it under settings?
No, it's under, oh, there's a little bit down there next to the microphone button.
Right here?
Yeah.
Oh,
This is out.
switch to speakers, microphone. Is that it? Audio settings.
It's on your microphone, see where it's there.
Right here?
Do that drop down nowhere to the very right, to the comment, drop that down right there.
This one? Okay. Maybe it is that one, you think? Can you hear us?
No,
Oh, Woody said yes.
okay, but yeah, it's fine, it's just that.
Now the only thing I can hear you, Vanessa, but
Yeah.
Hank sounds like he's in a tunnel. I cannot hear clearly at anything he's saying.
Okay.
We don't have the house system connected.
I don't understand what happened to it. Somebody had moved it. I think the cleaning people moved it. But it was working this morning. I thought it was. And the YouTube's working today, isn't it?
Yeah.
Of course.
It's just not, I don't see it listed there as an option for you to choose.
I know.
Don't have it as an option to choose, that's not,
It was literally on the computer.
I go through the computers, where you do it right now.
They're not gonna be able to hear you.
I know it's gonna be, well, I'll have to sit over there or whatever, and so they can bring out the computer.
Hmm.
And that.
It's like the Charlie Brown parents, wah, 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 wah. That's what it sounds like.
Is that a little bit better? Vanessa, I mean.
Oh, I can move.
Now there's an echo.
There's an
There we
echo,
go.
'cause I think we got it on twice.
Do we?
Pop this up right here.
In the Zoom?
Yeah, pop that up.
Here? This
Yeah.
one.
Hi, Janessa.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well.
How was your trip?
It was so good. It was so good to see my kiddo, and
Nice.
the travel day was not fun. The travel day back was awful.
Yeah, so was mine. I didn't get home till 12:15.
I got home at 2:30 a.m. on Sunday morning. So we're supposed to be back in Lexington by 1:30. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I got home at 12:15 last night.
Mm.
So slept like maybe 4 hours.
Did something happen with your flight, Laura?
It was like first 90 minutes behind the one from Atlanta to Cincinnati. And then they oversold it. So then they were looking for volunteers. And I was like, Lincoln will kill me if I volunteer for $400. And so will my mother.
All right, can y'all hear?
That sounds like a dance party.
Now it's
They left us. It's just us now. So
Okay,
Janessa,
there-
your travel was bad too?
Yeah, I was coming back from
Yeah.
Texas, and I spent the entire day basically in the Dallas-Fort Worth airport because right before I got on the plane in Lubbock, Dallas went to a complete ground stop for about 90 minutes. And then when we got on the plane, they were getting ready to back away from the gate. The pilot came on and said, "Oh, we're back on a ground stop for a little while because the storms
All
were
right.
so bad in Dallas."
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Laura, can y'all hear us?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Well, at least we got that. I'm trying to get camera.
Yeah, it the add on.
Oh, whoa, we got something here. We got something.
Can you hear me, Whitney? Like
Yeah.
through the app, you think, or through the
No,
computer?
no, they're got a camera somewhere because that's. Okay, can you see me
There
now?
you are. Yes.
Yes.
All right, well, we got something going. All right, Whitney, can you hear me? All right, it's saying here can you speak?
Yes, I can speak.
Okay.
Can you hear me? Yep.
Perfect, all right. I think we resolved a little bit of the problem, but anyway, somebody wants to. All right, a little delay getting started here. All right. We can officially call the meeting to order because now we have a quorum. Officially with everybody. Thank y'all for being here. Welcome to our guests, everybody. And we're ready for minutes, Ms. Guffey.
Yes. Okay, so everyone should have received Hank's email with the March minutes. Are there any changes that anyone would like to make at this time?
Yeah.
Okay, motion to accept the minutes for March.
Motion, Sydney, second. Eddie,
Second.
yeah, got a second already. Got one from Sydney. She's in the room here with me. Any further questions? All in favor of accepting the minutes as drafted?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all. All right. All right. Minutes approved. Mr. Kelly, operations report.
The March 2026 data is,
application submitted and pending, LSW 10, CSW 59, LCSW 40, renewals, LSW 1, CSW 5, LCSW 5, temporary permits, clinical 5, non-clinical 3, supervision contracts 72 approved, 0 deferred. We got, I approved 3 provider applications and 4 sponsorships. And currently we have 8,266 active licensees.
All right. Questions? I don't know if you could hear Mark or not.
Did y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear him.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yes.
Any questions? You might note that the licensees reported last month and this month is different.
Very different.
We found where we were getting the number was in the wrong place. So we've corrected that. So learning the new system. Anyway, motion to accept operations report.
Second.
Need a motion first. Cindy, okay. Cindy did it. Okay, thank you for the second. All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. All right, thank you all. Moving on, Finance Committee, please.
All righty. Can you hear me okay?
There you go. Gotcha.
All righty. So looking at our year-to-date revenue, we have $326,441.14. Last month's revenue, so for the month of March, was $34,942.68. Our year-to-date expenditures are $412,127.84. This is as of March. Last month's expenditures, again, March expenditures, $38,411.48. Current cash balance is $579,477.75. Yearly appropriated funds is $838,600. Our unexpended, unobligated funds are $417,472.16. We are in reporting 9th month into the fiscal year, so we're 75% through the year, and 49.8% of the budget has been expended.
All right.
Kawan, I may have transposed the numbers when I wrote them down. I just wanted to double check. So expended for the year, you said 412,127.84. Is that right? I had 421,127.84, but I may have just written it down wrong. It's just one where I don't know which way the numbers go.
You know what? I think you're right, actually, because I hand wrote it and then I typed it, and I think my fat fingers just typed it wrong because what I have written is 421. So thank you for let me 421, 127.84. Yes, thank you for that catch.
Yeah, thanks.
Questions? Vanessa just handed me another report.
Oh, that's fine.
I know. Well, it is, but it has a page on here I haven't seen before. It has all the boards and their creations.
Yeah, it's always like that.
I know.
Yeah, we get that every month. Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually ignore the other boards, but as the chair, you might be interested in that just to see what everybody's
I'm very interested in this.
They weren't here today, so I gave them to you.
That's okay. Just kind of interesting to see that the Board of Cosmetology has what, a little over $2.5 million.
Yeah, I noticed that they're up there, and then the medical board's up there pretty high too. Nursing board.
Of course, nursing board tops it out. 10
Yeah,
million.
yeah, I did notice that, but I didn't think it was a competition.
Well,
but I did find the numbers to be interesting also myself.
That would be interesting numbers. Thank you for interesting numbers.
Well, I was thinking about making a motion. Maybe we should do a car wash so we could get our expenditures up a little. A fundraiser, bake sale,
So, yeah, I just want the bake sale with it because I want the cookies.
that part.
The
That
bake
part.
sale.
How do we lose money? Hank had a sweet tooth.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Well, it's
Yeah.
just interesting. Oh, good. Anyway, sorry about the side there, but just hadn't seen that. Anyway, thank y'all. Any questions? Back on track here. All right. Motion takes. There's a motion from the committee of one or more, which is two. So we just need a second to accept the finance report.
Second.
Yeah. And a vote of all in favor? Aye. Hearing any no's? Okay, motion accepted. All right.
Well,
Moving
and I
on.
guess should
Yep,
we
you
have?
got- You got your next motion.
Yep, I was gonna say I don't know if we want to formally make a motion to include the funding for travel for today's meeting.
Yes.
So I'd like to go ahead and make a motion for that. If,
All right, thank you. And a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, good deal.
And
Thank you.
I am not, I would also move that we reimburse the travel for, my travel for ASWB that we just returned from was covered by ASWB, but I'm not sure about Laura or you, Hank. So if any board members have expenditures related to that, if we haven't already voted on it, then I move that we cover the travel expenses for board members who just attended the ASWB education meeting in Rhode Island.
Okay,
and I will second that.
all right. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much. All right. All right, moving on to applications. Cindy's coming over here. She's gonna pull up a chair here and
Hi, everybody. We had 4 applications this month to review. Application 1, and they provided documentation showing that they've had their sentencing. We would just like evidence of completion, so completion of any time served or related fees. Applicant 2, same thing. They also provided that documentation, but we still need the evidence of completion for fees and associated probation. Applicant 3, they had some charges all expunged. Everything's good to test on applicant 3. And applicant 4, we're going to ask to postpone. We have a few questions. And Janessa, we'd like to meet with you about that one. There are a few issues related to it that we want to talk through with you before the next meeting and just kind of get your input on it.
okay, so motion for 1 to test and 3 to defer.
Yes.
I'll second.
Okay, anybody questions or for Sydney or Laura? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Sydney. Now our favorite part, complaints.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we have to do this.
I know, it's not the fun part. All right. In case number 2631 and 38, 2640 related to conflicts of interest, 2548, which is related to supervision and unethical business practices, and 2583, which was related to supervision. The committee moves to dismiss due to there being insufficient evidence to support the initiating complaint.
Just for everybody's information, we're trying to batch these so that we don't have to get too detailed along the way. If you have any particular question about any particular case number, please ask.
All right.
Let's do the motion to dismiss those cases.
Oh, that's right. Shoot.
Yeah, okay. All in favor?
I'll second. Or we don't need a second, right? Yes. Okay. I vote yes.
Oh, yes.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Yes. To
Aye.
dismiss. Aye. All in favor? All right, thank you.
Aye.
Now,
We're just all discombobulated today. We're all just like, it's Monday. We all had wild travel weekends. So,
yeah,
all right. In case number 2622 related to unlicensed practice, 2639 related to fraud or misrepresentation, which was lying about providing therapy sessions. 2643 related to fraud or misrepresentation. This was falsifying documents. And 2591, which was related to impaired practice. The complaint committee moves to further investigation of the complaint by the contracted investigator, and we would seek the board's authorization of the expense.
again, same idea, all those in this batch. So if there's any particular question, Janessa touched on what was the key piece of each case. So if you have any questions.
I just have a question about the process. I very much appreciate the efficiency of batching the cases. I just want to clarify, at what point in the process would we have the opportunity? Well, I mean, I know we have the opportunity now, but if at what point would we get a little more clarification, maybe after the investigation of
When
what
we
the
came to
actual case was?
right, we'll get more when we come to the, whether or not the committee recommends an agreed order or what the next,
Okay.
if there's any discipline that comes out of the investigation, then we would, that has to come back to the board anyway.
Okay, and at that point would be an appropriate time for us to say, we'd like a little
Yeah.
more detail.
Yeah, well, right.
About-
That when we get to the settlement pieces, those can't be batched. They have to be done individually.
Right. Okay.
Good question, though.
All right, we ready to move on?
Yeah, all in favor of motion to send these cases to the investigation for further information for the committee to make a recommendation. All right,
Aye.
all right, thank
Aye.
you. Now,
All right, in the case of 25102, related to a dual relationship or boundary violations, which was sexual in nature. And 2626 related to the same dual relationship or boundary violations, which was sexual in nature, except this one actually admitted to the relationship. The complaint committee moves to file a notice of administrative hearing and order, settlement authority given to board counsel based on the complaint committee stipulations.
so it's two cases very similar. One was investigated by the investigator. The other one we did investigate because it was admitted to. So we're moving directly to an agreed order on both of these cases. In that case, and because of the investigation that discovered the facts of the case, then we're having an agreed order on that one. Whitney.
May I-
Sure.
To
yes,
clarify,
yes,
so you're saying this is the same licensee, it's just two different complaints,
No,
but
there's
one,
there's two different licensees, similar kind of case. It's a boundary violation of a sexual nature. One, we have an investigative report because it has been turned in and we have all the facts. The other one, the person admitted to the violation. So we didn't have to investigate because they admitted to the particulars of the case. Anything, Mr. Brigham, you want? Okay. I'll ask the attorney if you have anything. All right. All in favor of the notice of administrative hearing and order of the board and settlement authority given to board counsel? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, anything? Is that everything, Vanessa? Vanessa?
Yeah, we've got two more.
Yeah. Yeah, two more.
Um,
Okay.
Case number 2641, which was, I'm not sure how do we relate this one, Hank,
Say what you can.
supervision, perhaps related to supervision and ethical decision making. And then the case 2644
Yeah, let's do that one at these two separately.
Okay.
please. Yeah,
Sure. For 2641, the complaint committee moves to assurance of voluntary compliance.
uh,
Yes,
yes,
we,
then,
Is the complaint, was it filed against a supervisor or is this supervision related to the supervisee?
supervisee. But there seems to
Okay.
be some error possibly on the, nothing in facts, but seems to be from the write-up that there could have been some errors on the supervisor's part too, but they're not the complaints on the supervisee.
Okay. So would it be like inappropriate use of supervision or not using supervision as needed, or like, I don't really understand how supervision.
this one's a hard one because probably should have sought more supervision, but at the same time, there was little to no direction given by supervisors in that area. That could have, it did not luckily, but it could have resulted in serious harm to the client because this was a case that involved suicidality. Coin, you had a question?
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
ask if we're at liberty to say who the complainant was, because it sounds like it wasn't the supervisor or the supervisee. Was this a client complaint?
No, it was an employer complaint.
Okay. Okay, I'm tracking. Just to clarify,
Yeah, go ahead.
did it result in actual, the client actually did
No.
complete suicide? Okay,
No, they
Okay.
did not. They did
okay,
not.
good.
They're child safe. But there seemed to be some lack of direction or some communication issues.
And the suicidality involved a minor.
Yeah, right.
So it was a minor who had the issue.
This might not be something you can answer, but is the supervisor internal to the agency or an external supervisor?
It seems to us
Somewhat internal. Any other questions about this one?
it's tricky. All right, all in favor of the assurance of voluntary compliance?
Aye.
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 All right, that motion passes. Next.
All right, and in the case of 2644, which would have been related to a breach of confidentiality, this was a HIPAA violation. The complaint committee moves to assurance of voluntary compliance.
It seems the licensee who was, again, it was an employer complaint, has initiated steps to correct actions.
And the licensee did, I think you might have said this, Hank, and I might have heard it, did admit it and said, yes,
Yeah.
I did do
Right.
this.
Yeah.
They had accessed a record they should not have accessed.
So as far as the board sending that further, there's no other jurisdiction or organizational entity that we should report that to, given that it was a violation that we don't have jurisdiction over?
Well, it's because it's an employer. If there was need for any further, they would have to take care of it.
They would have to submit that to HHS, correct, Hank?
Correct.
I have a question real quick.
Sure.
In cases like that, does that result in like a request to do further education on HIPAA and things like that?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
That's why it leans more towards it, because they admitted it, and it leans more towards they're already doing that we would just follow up on that with insurance
Okay.
compliance. The licensee may face other negative things from their past employer as far as HHS. But we don't know.
Any other questions on that one?
And it seemed to be an isolated event. That's the other piece. That we don't have multiple, the employer didn't say there was multiple instances, but just the one. Yes. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Hi.
All
That
right,
was it.
thank you.
That was the last one.
Last one, yeah. We had a couple of tricky cases for y'all today.
Yeah, there were some really
Many-
difficult ones.
We spent a lot of time discussing the pros and cons and whatever. It's challenge anyway. Mr. Brigman has a settlement for case 2350.
Yes, this is Mark Riggleman. We have case number 2023-50. This was admitted violations of sexual misconduct and other associated dual relationships. And the individual has agreed and signed and dated that their license will be voluntarily surrendered as if revoked from the date that they let it expire. They cannot reapply for 5 years as allowed by statute. They are agreeing to be assessed, I think, a $10,000 fine, which is fully probated and paid if and only if they reinstate. Finally, if they do reinstate, they have to have a fitness for duty examination, and they have to practice under the appropriate terms and conditions of clinical supervision at their own expense. So this was a very detailed settlement agreement, and I dare say it's the equivalent of the professional death penalty for losing one's license for sexual misconduct.
Mm.
So the committee recommends entry of that settlement agreement in case 2023-050.
Questions?
Yes, please. There was one word I missed, I think. It said, cannot do what for 5 years?
5 years probation.
The prohibition is on their license is suspended for a period of 5 years, and they cannot reapply for a period of 5 years.
Reapply. That's the word I missed.
Okay.
Got it.
Reapply.
Okay. Got it.
Your
Thank you.
statute says that people can reapply after 5 years. So you really almost don't have a way of revoking someone permanently forever and ever for all time immemorial.
And when they do reapply, that's when the fine has to be paid.
Oh, okay. So the fine isn't due unless and until they try to get back into the field.
Correct.
Do they pay that fine in full all at once?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
It works
No.
like it for now.
Unless at the time they work out something out with us, but
So if somebody is, for instance, their LCSW is suspended in this kind of way, does that preclude them from working in the field of social work in a non-clinical or a non-licensed component?
That's an excellent question. And we have in the settlement agreement, it says you shall not practice social work as that is defined by state statute, blah, blah, blah. So there's kind of a misnomer. Oh, you can't work in healthcare because you lost your license. No, you can work in healthcare. You could be the receptionist and make patient appointments. You could be the medical records clerk. You cannot have a clinical service. And the board would deem anything face-to-face with a patient or client to be a clinical service.
and follow that up, Kwan, since they're licensed at the clinical level and not at a CSW, LSW category, they couldn't do case management either because they're not. It goes across all of it.
Got it. But
Because
in
it does not practice social work.
so in theory, though, like one who is like, let's say working for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services in a social services role, but it's not necessarily a social work role. In theory, this wouldn't impact that.
It would technically probably not, but it would be up to the employer when they employ and vet that person for employment.
Got it. Okay. Just curious.
Sure. Good question. We have to be careful in our wording and whatever we do. We're not trying to keep a person from getting a job, but at the same time, because of the adjudication, because of the violation.
Sure, that makes sense.
I'll give you an example of one that did have consequences. I can think of a different licensure board that shall remain nameless. And they revoked one of their credential holders by agreement for sexual misconduct. And that individual went on to apply to be a public school teacher and get a certificate. And we think that that will be followed up on by what's called the Educational Professions Standards Boards, because they regulate teachers. So it didn't have anything to do with being a teacher, didn't have anything to do with a student or anything like that. But if you committed this kind of misconduct under one scenario, does that make you unfit to be a public school teacher? If you're a realtor and you steal money from people that are selling houses, and you turn around and say, I'm done with real estate, I want to be an accountant. Well, you deal with money too.
Yeah.
But there are examples, disbarred lawyers that try to go into real estate, get their real estate license. I can go on, but
For sure. And like thinking about what Hank was saying, like we're not necessarily trying to keep people from being employed, but at the same time, I'm wondering if someone had this type of a situation and then they went to work at, again, the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, a social services worker, but there's not a license that would be cross-referenced, how would that employer access that information from the board, or how would we be able to even trigger that to communicate that, hey, by the way, this person sleeps with their clients?
Well, our settlement agreement, this will be posted on the website.
Okay. So it'd be up to the employer to look at our website.
Yeah, we can't tell employers, whether the cabinet or anybody else, what they do when they hire people.
Fair.
like
Okay.
any employer, Hank is right. We can't dictate that, but you hope that they have their own screening protocol. Like, have you ever been fired from a job? Have you ever committed professional misconduct? Have you ever been sued by, I mean, that, I don't know what all they ask. They don't ask those kind of questions if you're flipping burgers and making French fries, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Fair.
So the
Okay.
recommendation is to enter into that.
To enter in the settlement agreement. Might need a motion.
I will make a motion to enter a settlement agreement.
Yeah, the committee, oh yeah, right, the committee has moved, sorry, committee has moved. So
I will
we can
second.
take- Yeah, all in favor?
I,
Aye.
Thank you all. We got one other issue for the complaint committee. Case number 2307, 2517, 2519, and 2543. People have not responded to the board, so we're asking for, the committee is asking for a motion to, or is the motion is to order of the board for failure to respond, which is a one-time account that they have to respond to now. All in favor? Aye.
I,
Aye.
Thank you all. All right, done. Thank you all. This is hard. It's what we have to do though. That's part of our.
I do have a question about this. So
Sure.
what if somebody says, hey, you sent that to the wrong address? And I know licensees are adults and it's their responsibility to update their address. Cause do you, I guess, when do you start getting in trouble for not responding?
Well, they technically have 20 days. We've given them
Okay.
we usually send more than one request.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we know their address is correct because we did get return mail.
I see. Okay.
They're also required to keep updated addresses.
Yes.
So
Yes.
It's kind of a double.
Yes, this is Mark. Your statute and regulations do require licensees to keep their contact information updated with the board. But as a practical matter, we do a great job of trying to reach people 3 ways. You send them a complaint by certified mail, return receipt requested. You send a copy by regular mail because sometimes certified mail will not get forwarded. Regular mail will get forwarded to the next address if they've moved their address. And then finally, we duplicate it by email. So if you've changed your address and you don't get a certified mail and you don't get a copy by regular mail, and you don't respond to your email, I mean, there's nothing more that we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're all adults here.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
Order of the
Yeah.
board is, speaking of adults, the order of board is kind of like Simon Says language. Simon says you shall respond to this complaint. And if you don't, then what is the violation of law? You've not responded to a order of the board. So you could lose your license just by default by not answering your mail.
Mm. That would be a real shame because these licenses are hard to get.
Correct.
Well,
Yes.
I'm thinking of all kinds of situations in the law where you could lose because you don't ever respond to certified mail, or the sheriff knocks on your door and says you've been sued. Yeah, so what? You know,
Do we not call people?
We have to have a paper trail.
I have, yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, not that we need a fourth way, but like,
No.
hey, we've been mailing you. Do we get the right address for you?
Right.
But not that, I mean, I think we've already exuded enough efforts, but I was just wondering.
Sometimes they call us so we can verify. So that helps.
Yeah, that part.
Okay, moving on to old business, ASWB, Laura, I, Mark, Kelly, and Whitney attended the education meeting in Rhode Island, Newport. Laura, Whitney, anybody comment on?
Yeah. I thought it was a great education meeting. To the newer board members, definitely take those opportunities to go because this will be my second one that I've gone to, and they're super informative. You get to interact with the other board members from other jurisdictions, and the kind of the topic of the weekend was supervision, and often I had this conversation with many people like from the second day that supervision often is linked to more clinical practice and even more non-clinical practice. And I mean, supervision should go through the whole career span. I think they even said that too. So there was just a lot of topics that could that we could definitely bring back to the board that we can do something with this year. So it was a great trip.
I would absolutely second what Laura said. I thought that information about supervision was very helpful. It is another piece of information that was sort of new for me to hear a lot about. There was a presenter, and I don't remember his first name, but his name is Dr. Ono, and he is from Georgia. And he presented during the board member exchange about the concept of stereotype threat and how that impacts individuals from any marginalized group. I talked to him about it later. He was specifically talking about how stereotype threat impacts African Americans who are taking standardized tests and things of that nature. But I talked to him later and I said, I think this sounds like it would also apply to first generation students. He talked about how it applies to women in STEM fields. But just the idea, if you don't know about it, look it up and read some about it. It's a concept that's been studied a lot in psychology, but it doesn't get a lot of attention. But I think that it has a lot of implications as especially those of us who are educators, but also as we think about the challenges that some people have faced with licensure exams. It was pretty mind-blowing how this concept can really have a big impact on all of that. So it's always a good opportunity at these meetings to learn new things, and that was a great thing that I learned. And definitely encourage all of you who can. The delegate assembly is going to be November 6th and 7th in Salt Lake City. And next year's education meeting is April 16th and 17th in Montreal. So those are the next two meetings that will be coming up. They're also taking applications for people who are interested in serving on committees. So think about if there's a way you could possibly serve on a committee for ASWB. Also, just a great opportunity to get involved and meet people and kind of um, just learn. I mean, our board is awesome and I appreciate you all so much. It's also been really good for me to meet people from all over North America. It's been really great because you learn all kinds of things about the practice of our profession. Those of us who are in education, there's a lot of educators at these meetings. There's obviously a lot of regulators, but practitioners and people who are involved in just general advocacy for our profession. So lots of great opportunities, and I will just leave it with that.
Anything, Mark?
I noticed at the administrators forum, one of the things that really surprised me was a lot of the states, the other jurisdictions were wanting to do away with license verifications.
Mm.
And because they said it was too cumbersome and too much for them to do. And like Ohio has already done away with doing license verifications. You have to do license lookup, which we're not supposed to accept, but we're going to have to accept because that's all Ohio processes. But, I told the group that Kentucky was staying with their license verifications because I think it's an important service that we provide to insurance companies and licensees and employers. And I think it's a really important service that we have. So Kentucky is keeping their license verifications, but the trend is to abandon license verifications.
Yeah.
But we're keeping it.
I didn't going online and be able to verify or then what is the process?
Well, there is
I
a
figured there was.
official
Yeah.
verification, like digital verification.
Okay.
And like that's what we process. We get requests, like if somebody is applying for licensure in another state, and that state says, well, we need official verification from the state, every state you're licensed. So we always, issue that. And I don't know why other states describe being overwhelmed with the process, but I don't think we're overwhelmed. We get a lot. We get a lot of them, but I think we process them.
So she's been staying on top of it.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been able to process them effectively, and it's not been burdensome. So
Usually gets them out about at least in 10 days. Who knows? People have to wait on their applications in another state. Because sometimes that could be the holdup that you get licensed. So this should be whatever.
So I feel like it speaks to our efficiency that we're not having problems with. But other, boards are having problems with it. So but that was very interesting.
It does take a long time for applicants to get them from us to get them from other states too. Like, if they have 10 licenses in 10 different states, then we have to get an official verification from every single state. Some states take a long time.
Yeah.
So that could be one of it.
And is that all we'll accept?
We only accept official verifications except for states that we know for sure do not do.
Okay, that's what.
We have a list and there's like maybe 5. Everybody else.
Yeah, because we're not going to hold parties.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
just,
Go ahead, go on.
I think maybe Sydney or Vanessa or somebody over there might have asked the question. I might not have fully heard it, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around how cumbersome this is. Like, is this just somebody just asking, like Mark, for instance, to verify that this person has a Kentucky license? Like, what is the process to where people are like, we can't do this? Why is it so much for them?
I don't know why it's so much for other states. We don't have that problem. The system will generate an official verification for license. And it's just a matter of, clicking and downloading and
Cindy.
sending. So that's the way we do it.
So
this
is it, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
No, go ahead. I'm taking up airspace.
Yeah.
I was So like, for example, because I think I had told you, I have somebody in my office that's trying to apply for Indiana. So Ohio may not provide verification to Indiana that she's licensed there.
That's
Correct.
right.
That's correct.
That is
Okay,
correct.
well, I'll mention that to this person. Yeah.
Ohio is no longer doing license,
Yeah.
official license verifications. So it's what they're saying is that if you can verify it on our website, that's good enough.
That's good enough.
Look it up yourself.
Look it up yourself.
But we do have, you made me think of something. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
Indiana and a couple more states, if somebody comes here and wants to get a license and they have one there, Indiana doesn't send them either. But they have to go to the Indiana website, pay for it, download it, and then we get the official one in PDF form sent to us. Some states do that.
There still is, to a certain extent with Indiana, there's still a verification. It's just that the licensee has to do it all on their own.
Okay.
We have internal process, staff handles it.
So I'm thinking
Yeah.
about like,
Kentucky takes care of their social work.
thank you for that, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
But I'm thinking about like, so I applied for psychology today a couple months back or whatever. So like they had to verify my license. Is that something that had to come through you, Mark, or is that just digitally in this virtually in the system? Like it says I'm verified and I have a check. I just don't know how I got there.
It depends on what their process is. If they can get on the website and verify your license and that's good enough for them, that's fine. But if they want something, an official statement from the board, they request that and we'll send it to them.
Okay.
Like insurance companies, when they call, or they don't usually call, they just do a lookup unless they can't find somebody. With the new system, so it's a little different. So then they'll call us and ask us to verify it, just over the phone for them.
Okay.
Good to know. Thank you.
And Whitney Miley, as far as education, Dr. Ono was probably the highlight. That stereotype threat and the research that he showed, I think it might be something that educators could discuss, and maybe we as a board, maybe we need to bring him to the state to give the presentations for people taking a standardized test like the exam, license exam, as well as might help them with other test taking they're taking when they realize. I just remember one small little detail that he said that it was demonstrated in the research that in the demographics that you put on a test, that if the men saw it first, their scores were higher. Women, if they answered it at the end, they got a higher score, which is kind of odd. But it's just those kind of little details that he would show, and I don't know what that means, but it's just like, wow. It had more of a, the whole idea of a stereotype threat, like Whitney said, it's not big in literature, at least not in the social work world, and bringing it to us was like, wow, maybe we should take this a little bit more seriously so that if certain things and he does LCSW supervision, and he had the statement. So because I know this, I've never had a student fail the exam because I can help them understand how that stereotype threat affects them when they're ready to go take the test. And I'm thinking, wow, that would be something each test taker needs to know to a certain extent. So I don't know. It was just one of those thoughts, but it was a really, really excellent presentation. A lot of excellent presentations, but that one stands out. So thank you all. Social Work Compact. The fun stuff. We're in the final negotiations to get the system paid for. Money is always a tricky part. Because it's a very customized software that we're developing for the nation. So that's where we at. As soon as that can be done, the software development hopefully can get started. Like I said, don't get too far ahead of ourselves, but the software design things calls for it to be ready in 7 to 9 months. So you can do your calculation. As soon as it's known, it'll probably be publicized for everybody to hear, because that's the bottom line question. When are we going to start? Okay. We have another piece of that I'll save for the fees part. So anyway, Any questions about the compact? Okay, all right. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Hank, just as a clarification? I was in a CEU training and the statement was made that the compact license would only cost $25. And I was like, I don't think that's
No,
accurate.
that's not accurate. That's not accurate. That's why we can say, it's a good segue into the fees, Ray, that we're going to talk about, because I want us to kind of discuss the social work compact fee. We've looked at this reg before, and it's just kind of making sure we've covered all the bases. But on this, I put in the Section 8 on the initial fee for and renewal for the multi-state license, and I put in 150. Okay, and that's just kind of a placeholder right now because since I've drafted this up, Mark and I have done some other discussion, and I've got a calculator, so to speak, that to help us, and not just for us, but since I was doing it for us, I've offered it during the education meeting to some other states to see if it would help them, and they said yes, it would. So it's kind of like it might be a useful tool for us to use, where you calculate what might be your revenue loss from people who have Kentucky licenses but don't live here. Because right now, if you apply for a license, we really don't care where you live. We just give you a license. Where under the compact, you have to have a home state. So if I live in Ohio and I have a Kentucky license, if I could get a multi-state license in Ohio, I won't need the Kentucky license because it would give me the right to practice in Kentucky. Does that make sense? All right. The $25 comes from the fact that that's what's been kicked around as the license, the piece of the license fee that is paid back to the compact to fund the compact. That's where the $25 comes from. That number hasn't been officially made into a rule yet, so the compact has to do that piece of it. Again, it goes back to the state. What would you want to charge for the multi-state license? So you have to keep in mind, you have to have your state license. Okay, so an LSW in Kentucky is $75 for 3 years. Okay, if they got a multi-state license, then they would pay the multi-state fee, which would include the amount that goes back to the compact. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So did they pay for their license, their base license and the compact license?
Yes.
Or are you saying
Yes.
compact? Oh, so it'll be
No.
two different, essentially.
Two different fees, yeah, two different.
So they pay their $75 plus whatever the compact license costs, which it looks like in this draft, it would be $75. So it'd be $150 if you're an LSW level and you want to have a license in Kentucky and a compact license.
Yeah, you would have the $75 plus the $150.
The 150 is your license in Kentucky.
Yeah, your multi-state
Okay, gotcha.
license. Because we're looking at it not just as, per category of license, just one-time fee, so we don't have to deal with 3 different fee levels is what we were talking about. If that, again, we might, if y'all want us to look at 3 different fee levels, then we'll have to break it down.
Well, now I'm getting confused. So
Yeah,
there's
I
a
know.
fee. I mean, there's a renewal fee that the person would have to do each renewal period. But you're saying also in addition to there's also a one-time upfront fee.
Yes.
Okay,
So
and that would be the
basically,
same across the board.
Right, it would be the same across the board. In other words, it doesn't matter whether you had an LSW or CSW or an LCSW, you would have one fee for the multi-state license to add to whatever you're paying for your category license that you already have. It's confusing, sorry. Trying to keep it as simple as possible.
So I might be getting.
That's the decision we have to make. Do we want a one-time fee, or do we, like we have right now, a category of, LCSW is what, 200, CSW is 125, and LSW is 75 for a 3-year cycle. Do we want the same kind of breakdown for the multi-state license, or do we want a one-time fee for everybody that everybody would pay,
For all
regardless of what type of license you have?
Free staff, I like that.
Well, that's why we were talking about it, because rather than 3, it was 1. That's why Mark and I was like, just a 1 would make it easier for you guys. But again, whatever the board wants to do on that.
Is there any
Not really. We just have to know, do you want to do three? Because then we have to calculate, because we will probably lose some money because people from out of state probably, and they get a multi-state license, they won't renew us. So our revenue can go down. And, you know, while right now we have a bit of a surplus, over time that could wipe it all out. You know, over 5 years, it would wipe it out basically for us.
If we're not the home state.
Yeah, if we're not the home state. Yeah. So, you know,
I have a couple of questions.
sure.
So one of them is, as far as the renewal cycle. So like, I think November 2027, for instance, is when I need to renew my LCSW. But
Right.
let's say that sometime in the next 9 months or whatever, this compact thing comes, and that's before that time. Would I
Yeah.
then have two different renewal cycles, or would it
No.
all?
We would do it, we would sync your two at the same time.
Okay.
And, you know, say, you know, next year you did it before your L renewed, we would probably prorate the fee so that you wouldn't pay a full amount. We'd probably prorate is what we looked at.
Okay. And then my other thought process is, I'm wondering how feasible it'd be for very many people to even want to get a compact for a CSW, knowing that in a few hours they're going to get their LCSW, like, or would it be transferable? You know what I mean? Like, would it be, I have this compact with my CSW, and now when I have my L, it's transferable, or no?
No, you would have, your multi-state license would be for the category of license you are in right now.
Got it. So I don't know if I was a CSW, I don't know that I'd see a whole lot of value in.
Well,
trying to-
the thing is with CSWs right now, it would only apply to CSWs who are not in supervision.
Oh, well, yeah.
If you're in supervision, then you cannot apply for a multi-state license. So it probably wouldn't help with that issue.
Got it.
One fee or break it down? That's the first question.
My vote's for one fee.
Okay, one fee. Yeah, got it. Anybody else? One fee?
Let's make one thing easy in this.
What?
One fee.
Can I play devil's advocate just for a second? And I might be misunderstanding because again, it's getting me a little bit confused. My only concern is having the same fee level for someone at the bachelor's level of practice because their income is going to be significantly less than someone with an LCSW. And I just want to at least discuss or look at the equity, you know, that angle, that we don't want to overburden people who are making less money to start with.
Well, one thing I could say, Whitney, is that this 150 that's here right now, that's at the high end. We're looking at trying to see how it breaks down so that it might be lower for everybody, a one-time fee. Yeah. So Mark and I'll have to look at it some more to know just precisely which way we want to go on this, because I need his input on it. I've looked at it. Sometimes it looks like it could be $80. So it could be a whole lot less than 150 as a way of not making it too high. But I put the higher amount on here because we're estimating some of the things. I put the higher amount on here. If we can get a little more specific, we want to go down on it. As far as
Oh, my vote was thinking 75 across the board. That's what my vote was coming from.
Right. I heard that. I kind of figured that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, LSW the lowest. I'm like, yeah, 75, that's what I'm used to.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to it being 75 across the board, as long as we're not going to impact our finances long term. You know, that's where Mark and I have to work on that, and he'll have to give me some, things about how it's going to impact us over time.
Yeah.
I guess my 2 cents is we need we need a little bit more information before we can make a determination either way. It sounds like we need to get closer to what the actual numbers are going to be. But I think if we're looking at simplicity, then one alternative to just charging a flat rate for this across the board might be having it mirror whatever the licensure fee is. So if it's $75 for LSW, then make their compact $75 also. If it's 150 for LCSW, make it 150 for the LCSW level 2.
Yeah.
Just have it mirror.
That's what I was asking. That's why we're reversing your decision. You talked about having one fee because it makes it easy. Now you're saying, let's break it down. So, you gotta say which way, Mark and I don't know which way you want to go with this. But we have to decide which way you want to go, that we can't write the reg. We don't know which way to go with this. Decisions.
Yeah.
I'm okay either way. Okay? I just want to make sure that, whatever way we decide, Mark and I have to figure out which way is it going to impact, how's it going to make sure it's not going to have a long-term impact on us. Probably not. If you did that, I think it's all off. Pretty much, if you keep it.
I done changed my mind.
Yeah, if you keep it, it's like LCSW's in, Kwan, when we get your license, you'd be paying $400, one for the state license, $400 for the multi-state license, or $200 for the multi-state. So your total fee would be $400 every 3 years.
Yeah, but you know how many more people I'd be able to see in the private practice making that difference?
I know. I agree. I totally agree. I have, like I said, I have no problem with that. But
Well, and I think just the nature of our profession, we have to think about like what Whitney said, the equity issue.
yeah, I know.
Right.
And to recognize that so many of our people are going to be working in nonprofits
Yeah.
where they're not going to
Right.
be rolling in the dough, right?
Yeah.
So those are things I think that just by nature of who we are, that we have to consider that.
Okay. Sure. What do you think? I agree. Okay. Mark's okay with it, so yeah. If you want to go that way, we can rewrite this and put it in that way.
Well, which way? Because I just threw it out as a suggestion. Are we talking about my way?
Well, yeah. Well, that's what you've convinced everybody to go your way. That's fine. $200 for Ls, 125 for CSWs, and 75 for LSWs. You'd be basically, if you have a multi-state license, you would be doubling your cost of renewal every 3 years. It's as simple as you can be said.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to worry about the financial impact then, probably. I'd be my guess, we probably don't. We'd have to look at it again just to make sure, but I don't think so.
Yeah. I think for equity, it kind of makes sense, but it would be a big burden, but I have 3 years to figure it out, right?
Oh, well, yeah.
Whitney had a question, I think.
It would, Sydney just said, it would still be cheaper than trying to get licensed in all 32 states, yes. Whitney?
I was just going to say, I mean, if we have a little time or there might be some more calculations to do to figure out what the actual number needs to be. My thing is just I would like a graduated fee structure so that people who are making the least amount of income are going to incur the least expense. But if you figure out the numbers and you say, well, it just needs to average to $80 total per person, then it may be that it doesn't need to be quite as high for L's. But that may actually be what you already said. Maybe that's where you got that number of 200.
Correct. Yeah, that's where I got
Okay.
Yeah,
I got you. Okay, so you're saying that, okay, if $80 is what we have to have on average, then it would put it in that. I mean, I'm okay with playing around with that a little bit, but I really think justice wise, let's don't burden the L's at the same level as the LCSWs because they make a lot more money or at least have the potential to.
Right. Well, I mean, for all practical purposes, I don't know if anybody at LCSW level is getting paid what an LSW gets paid. So, yeah.
Right.
And like you said, Kawan, they probably can make up the fee a little bit quicker in the long run.
Couple clients, probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And definitely filed on your taxes. I just did that.
Yeah, well, right. It does impact that too. But your fee, you can think that's anyway. Okay, well, we'll play around with that one. To good thing. Is there anything else in the reg here that's as it's drafted for you to keep in mind? We need to probably discuss any other fees that we have out there, like verification. Yeah.
that's why they have to be a nice one.
Yeah, we need to probably add I need to go over with staff other fees because they're not in here that we would, need to add. Because time we get to the subcommittee, they will be asking that. So the wall fee, the wall certificate,
And like they should pay about 25.
yeah, 25. Is there anything else on here that isn't on there? Are we okay with the initial renewal for the temporary license?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Yeah, yeah, bumping it up.
All certificate fee though won't happen every time, right? That's just a one-time issue.
The one-time issue, yeah, but we have to list all of any fees that we're charging, we have to put it in the regulation.
Right, okay.
So that anybody looking up the regulation knows that there's a fee out there for that. That's right, correct?
Yes.
The attorney, so, okay, all right. Need to add that in there. Clarify on the, okay, all right. Get that clarified. All right, next one, equivalency. We've looked at this one before as well. Know of any changes that other than, what we've drafted, except for adding the background check, because that's now part of our statute now for anybody. So it would apply also to somebody applying for equivalency, right? They would have to get a background check. Right. So if we granted equivalency, they would have to do that. So that would need to be in the reg. Mr. Nichols, is there anything else you see in that particular reg that we need to?
I think Whitney has a question.
Yeah, sure.
Well, a couple things. One is how often does this come up? And two, under section 3, I'm curious about where, is it section 3? No, sorry, under section 2, number 5, it says they have to have 2 hours of supervision. First of all, I think we might clarify while in practicum, the supervision, because that just seems so broad. What is that, while they're the entire time they're a student or what? But the other question is that we only require 1 hour of supervision for our BSW students in practicum. So that is not aligned.
Nor do we require 450 hours. Undergrad is just 400.
We don't either. It's
Okay.
so not just this. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. I was like, oh.
Right. All right, you guys, back up. You said 3 things in one part of the first part of the reg there, Whitney, that you wanted to add on.
Well, my first question was just how often do we even face this where someone has
Not very often. Not very
Okay.
often. It's just we're required by statute to have one.
We had, while I've been on the application committee, we had one recently that I guess had prior to me joining application committee, they had submitted and it not been granted and they wanted it reviewed again. And we looked at it again and there was no way that there was the equivalent, though they certainly thought so. It was through like undergraduate, like counseling education or something like that.
So Hank, the other points were, I guess, under section
Yeah,
2.
Yeah.
First of all, where it says that they have to have 450 hours, that Janessa and my program are both 400 hours.
Okay.
And where it
That's
says
a CSWE requirement. If we could say some schools require more than that, so that probably needs to read a minimum of 400 hours because that's what is minimally required.
So at a minimum or at least, Mr. Nichols, which is the best way to say that, or the reg. At least is probably the reg language. Reg language would be at least, which would be minimum, right? But the reg committee has a lot of specific words that we can and cannot use.
They have words that you shall and shall not use.
Yes, you shall and shall not use, yeah. Although they use those same words in the statutes.
Yeah,
I know.
statute.
Statutes, they write anyway.
They write statutes any way they want to, but when it comes to regs, you shall and shall not do whatever. Whew. Anyway, okay, so it'll be at 1 hour per week for supervision. So got those two. Anything
And I
else?
would maybe, can you specify that during supervision or I'm sorry, during practicum, or do you think that's obvious that it's in number 5 where practicum is noted? Because I'm just thinking some people might find that to be a little ambiguous. It's not 2 hours of 1 hour of supervision indefinitely or the entire time you're in the program. It's meaning while you're in practicum.
While in the pack. Okay, got you. Okay.
I also think that it's a little bit dicey where it says practicum shall be taught by an individual with advanced degree in social work. Well, are we talking about the person who's like teaching the seminar, or are we talking about the possible field instructor?
Good question.
The seminar, it has to be, I think, according
Right.
to CSFE. But
And
no,
the field instructor, though,
instructor-
doesn't have to have that advanced degree in social work.
Yeah, I think at U of L, it's like if they're a bachelor's level, they have to have this many years of experience in the field versus a master's with this many years in the field.
It's 2 years
graduate.
experience post whatever that degree is what CSWE requires. But some of it is like sometimes we have task supervisors because it's really good for them to be at an agency where there isn't a social worker. So they would have a task supervisor, and then their field instructor would be the person with the advanced degree who would do the 1 hour of supervision per week.
So shall we say something, practicum shall be overseen by by a field director with an advanced degree?
Field instructor.
This field instructor?
I think that's what most of us call those.
Okay, all right.
Wait, let me back up and say this again, though. If we're going to be careful about language, there is a movement to get away from the word field, which is why most people have changed over to practicum.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah. I go back and forth and I catch myself saying field and have to back up and say no, practicum.
So I'm not as well versed in this because I'm not in academia, but I will say that I did an application the other day to be I'm pretty sure a field supervisor for somebody. Like there's not anybody in particular yet because there's not anybody that's applied for the particular place, but on a place that I'm on another board for. So they would have a task supervisor, to my knowledge, that would actually be there at the place, but they were wanting me to be the social work supervisor. But I'm not their practicum instructor though.
Right.
I would be their practicum supervisor.
You'd be their field or their practicum instructor.
Practicum instructor.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
their practicum liaison, or we call it field liaison, is the teacher that teaches the seminar class and
Okay.
oversees their grades. Yeah.
Okay, good. I was making sure that we weren't trying to say that the field liaison should be doing the supervision.
And see,
What we're
that's
saying.
part of the problem is sometimes we're calling them different things. There is no consistency across programs and what we call things. So that's why, it gets a little dicey when you start using some of that language because it means something different. I'll be honest with you. I'm also very uncomfortable with the fact that we're doing content requirements with equivalency. And I realize that's the best way to do it, but we don't use a content approach anymore. It's a competency approach, right? So our education is not content driven anymore. It's competency driven. So it's really interesting to me. And what's that happened in 2015, wasn't it, Whitney, that we switched to competency approach? Yeah, 2015. So I don't know.
I think it's fairly common that we still use the courses though to address
It
the
is.
competency
It is.
within. And I think the spirit of this reg is just that if you're trying to come from some other unknown entity of a program, that we want to know that you've had this content, and that I don't know any other way to gauge their competency.
That's what I said.
besides-
I wouldn't know any way to do it either. I mean, I'm sure we could come up with something, but it would be complicated and very like people and like human capital intensive to do it. But yeah, some of it though I question because it was based on what those old content requirements were, like the policy. requirements specifically speaks on the courses being built in political science and economics. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Like, it includes pieces of that, but that may not be the base that it's built on. So some of that language concerns me, though I don't know that that's necessary to pick apart today. I do think it is for another day that we really should take a look at that and update that, because some of that language would imply something that even our social work programs maybe aren't doing right now. So,
Okay. All right. Okay, we'll work on some of that. All right, next one. Yeah, I think this one's easier. The per diem, we want to go to the maximum by law, so I think we can go with that one. Oh, then the brand new one here, Mr. Brinkman, that's all yours.
Well, thank you very much. This is Mark. This is a new administrative regulation that I had proposed based on some other boards' administrative regulations. And this one governs the examination. Your statute does not even specify the examination by name. It says you shall take the national examination. So when you designate the exam, everybody just takes our word for it that is quote the national examination. So this was my attempt and stab at doing an examination for you all. It still could include some things about how many times you can take it, whether you have to take or rather do a remediation plan to file with the board, and whether there's an ultimate limit on how many times you can take it. There is evidence that if you don't pass on the third or fourth time, that it's very, very not likely that you would ever pass. And also, for example, having a limit on the number of times you pass is also can be an exam security requirement, because in the past, there have been thieves and scufflaws who just repeatedly signed up to take the exam and weren't trying to pass it, they were just trying to steal it. So I think there are other protocols in place that have tightened up those loopholes, but that is another reason for limiting the number if you choose to do so. ASWB, they have their own limit, but then that's not within your control. That's up to them, and they can change that.
And then there's a remediation plan that would have to be filed with the board if you fail.
Fail once or fail
Anytime.
Anytime, yeah.
In other words, you can't just say, well, I'll just sign up for a second time and maybe I'll get a little more lucky. You know, you have to outline, I'm going to study this content. I'm meeting with a supervisor. I'm going back to my school for help from my professors. You have to lay out something and not just, well, I hope I pass the second time.
Yeah.
Because there's no one to make you do anything to try to pass that you didn't do the first time.
Yeah.
So the remediation plan, do we have to approve those?
Yep.
Because I don't know that I feel comfortable doing that as a board member, to be honest with you. And that's a lot of work if we've got a lot of people not passing. Another thing that I would say about this is it's been my experience with the students in our program that when they fail, they're not failing by huge margins. They're failing because they missed 2 or 3 questions. And would we really want them to do a remediation plan because they failed by 2 questions?
Right. I think it'd be shame inducing.
Okay, that would be very shame inducing, and I would just be like, screw it, I'm not gonna get a license at that point.
This is all open to change, and we don't even have to do the remediation plan.
Yeah,
It's just,
no, I would say cut the remediation.
No.
Period.
I think it sounds very punitive and I do not like it at all.
This reg? She said it's already.
no, the remediation plan.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It just feels like huge overstepping to me for the board to be like, oh, you didn't pass, you're gonna have to tell us, you know. And these are adults. If they want it, they know what they need to do to fix it.
Okay, not a problem. Like I said, this is the first time to discuss this. So we got to hash it through. We don't like it, we take it out.
I agree with that. I will say devil's advocate. If we needed to have anything like that, it might be after they miss so many questions. You know what I mean? Like if it's like a range, like if there's like 15 questions missed, maybe that could be a remediation type of situation. All right, Janessa's saying no.
I would say no.
Okay.
Also, the way that the exams are structured, the psychometrics are a little more complicated, I think. I don't know that the way they work is you have to pass this many questions to pass the exam. And I mean, even the language in here that says that you have to have a certain score, ASWB determines that based on the psychometrics of the, so like if it ends up being a really, well, I don't need to speak out of turn. I'm not sure about that, but I know that they determine the passing score. I don't think we need to put that in our reg that says this is the passing score. They determine that as it goes, but I just am concerned with all of the implications around passing of the exam. I would much rather see us focus our efforts on how do we support potential licensees in passing the exam, not how do we give the impression that we're being, as Janessa said, it seems like overreach, and I just think it seems not really in the spirit of, I mean, obviously we got to protect the public, but that is really what the examination is for. And I don't think we should have a limit on how many times people can pass it if they want to spend their money. Ideally, they would maybe take advantage of our test prep, heavily subsidized test prep program or some other avenue, but I don't like.
I wouldn't be opposed to putting something in there, like if you failed 3 times, then, you know, we would be more than happy to support you by helping you work out a remediation plan. That's a support, something that the board could do, but that's just extra work on our staff. And really, test stuff is ASWB. That's not us.
That's true.
And it just, I don't know, it kind of feels icky.
Draconian.
Yeah, to do that. I don't know. It doesn't fit well with me.
I will say, as a board member now I failed the CSW. I failed it twice. I would never want to, like, even thinking of myself outside of being on this board. When I failed it, I didn't want to talk to anyone about that at all, because the first time I failed it by 1 question. So
That's
it was
what I'm
like
saying.
1 question separated me from what I'm like. And actually, like, I mean, I've never really had the inclination to do clinical, so it would just be, it's macro work at both levels. So like, but if they said, hey, you failed by 1 question, but the only thing you can do to, like, maybe for next time we want to review like a remediation plan, I would feel terrible about that. Yeah. So just from somebody who's experienced that. So
Doesn't feel supportive. It does feel punitive. I think Whitney said it best with that. It doesn't feel supportive. And we're trying to be more supportive and promote people actually taking the licensure. That's what this whole licensure prep piece was about, is to encourage people more and to get rid of that old idea that the board are like these ogre gatekeepers that don't want anybody to come into the profession, because that's just not the case at all. And I feel like this would set us back to that.
Got notes.
I want to be like Oprah and be like, licensures for all. Like, you get a license, you get a license, you get a license. Show me your competence. Show me your competence. That's what I want to do.
All right, we can work on that one. Sure.
That's exactly where I got it from. I plagiarized. Yes. And it just proves they're not all the same.
Is there a benefit?
They are not all the same.
What's the benefit? Is there a benefit?
Well, 3 things.
Some of us are superior.
Is it maybe the passing score is that you hold that amount and decide what that is. And it's not up to the whims of the organization that owns and operates the test. The second is just pure public protection. If you have 3 strikes and you're out, or 5 strikes and you're out, if you can't pass it 5 times, you won't be a social worker. That's just simple public protection, and there is data about that. The third is just trying to help people with a remediation plan so that you're not stuck in a loop of failing the test again and again and again. You have to demonstrate that you're going to do something to to achieve and be better the next time. If you say, I'm gonna spend 10 hours a week, I'm studying with my old professor, I'm doing this, no one is investigating you to see whether you do that. Or if you flunked it, go, aha, you flunked again. Maybe you didn't meet 10 hours with your supervisor. So this was all from another board that I thought was a good idea. But my job is to give you all choices and a smorgasbord of opportunities, and you can pick and choose.
Pick and choose. Yeah. I was gonna say.
You're all vegan.
Yeah.
That other board is obviously not social work.
Obviously.
And,
Just speaking from a, like an outpatient provider perspective, if it takes someone 20 times to pass the exam, that's gonna be someone that may potentially be really difficult for me to supervise and to get into the swing of things, in the role that I'm from. So I could see some small benefit to that. Not saying after like 1 or 2 times, and I don't know about the remediation after just a couple times. But I could also see there may be benefit to CAP at some point, just because of the field that I'm in.
What about the cap? Is anybody, what are your feelings about it? Sydney just said about, yeah.
I don't know that I saw so.
I couldn't hear it, Hank. Could you tell us what
Cap,
she said?
cap, she's talking about a cap on the number of times to take the test. I heard somebody say they didn't want a cap, so.
I'll
I
come
think-
over.
I think Whitney said no cap.
Sorry. I was just speaking from an outpatient provider perspective. If there's an individual that is taken 20 times before they pass their exam, then in my role, that's going to be someone potentially that I'm going to have a difficult time perhaps supervising. I'm going to have difficulty with getting in situations to work with clients, patients. So that would be my concern from my perspective of the type of place that I work.
I could see that, but playing devil's advocate, what if that person just has severe test anxiety?
Well, sure. And
I
that's
was
what I
just
was
about to
talking
bring
about.
that up.
Right?
Yeah, well,
Or that
that's-
person doesn't test well at all, that they maybe would need to take it a different way, a verbal way, or, I mean, to me, that maybe it takes them that many times before they, can get over the anxiety or, to work through whatever it is that they're needing to work through. Maybe they need to take it 5 times. And if the fact of the matter is, I think that if they eventually pass it, then that is our benchmark for you are competent enough to move to this next piece.
And I wasn't considering a cap that low, like 2 or 3 times. I would think more than that because, when we said one time a remediation plan, I immediately thought of people who have test anxiety, like, give them a couple more tries.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking a higher number cap is what I was thinking. Nothing low on that end, but just something higher because at what point do we say, hey, this isn't working, Just playing devil's advocate from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wonder if maybe this is like a supervisor thing, like, because if they're still under supervision, I would imagine. So their supervisor should be like, hey, maybe this isn't for you, or maybe we need to be doing something different, or maybe I need to support you better so that I'm not supervising for the next 20 years of my life.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, along that same line, Kwan, is between the supervisor and the supervisee. I had a person who could not pass, but it's an expense to keep taking the test. So it was a decision to stay in supervision and not spend the money on taking the test.
Right.
Because the person was a good clinician and all the support we had done, we exhausted.
That's what I was going to say.
And unfortunately, it was 1 or 2 points, which was like, it was really, really, really downer every time. And it was like affecting the person's ability to take the test because she would call and say, I failed it again, 1 point. It's like, oh, it was disheartening for me because like we did this much. We did remediation plans like crazy.
And maybe that's on us to be able to talk
I don't
about
know.
that with the supervisors and say,
Right. Yeah.
what do you do if you have
do
someone
you
who's
do?
taken it 5 times and they keep
Yeah.
failing it?
Right.
And maybe we talk to them about how do you have those conversations that say, you just need to stay in supervision and don't do this exam again. I mean, otherwise we risk losing access to some
Right.
really good clinicians.
Yeah. So,
I just wanted to
ahead.
say, I think it's an employment issue and that there are natural consequences that if a person is not passing and they keep doing it repeatedly, I mean, it may be that their employer says, we're going to need to move you to a different position, or they have to ultimately make that decision based on their financial situation. I just don't think as a board, I want us to put any more barriers in place because of what we are learning about. I mean, there's been all this controversy about the exam itself. And I mean, we've been to numerous, I've heard multiple people who are not in cahoots with each other talk about this. And I don't want to get off on that tangent, but I just think there are definitely systemic barriers to different groups of people. It is not the exam itself. The exam itself is a barometer of systematic barriers that are already in place. And I'm concerned that if we start putting up extra barriers, it just brings that argument right back to where we started. And I don't think that's constructive, but I also don't think it really, I mean, we have to always kind of balance all these interests. Obviously, our main interest is protecting the public. But we also want to ensure that competent, good people have access to be providers. We don't want to put barriers in place for people who really could. And we have to look at workforce issues that we need enough providers. So that's kind of Sydney's point, is we have to have enough people to provide the services. So we're looking at a lot of different elements, and I don't feel good about the idea that we put any extra barriers in place, because the exam itself is the measure of competency. I stand behind that we need to keep it, and that it needs to be, whatever the ASWB exam is, because we do not have an alternative objective assessment at this point, and I don't think it is in any way feasible to think that we would do something different from a human resource standpoint, as Janessa said. So I will stop now. Sorry.
That's okay. That's right. No, this
Well, I
is
keep
a new-
thinking what you were saying, Whitney, with all the systemic issues. I keep thinking about, and I know this isn't our state, but I think about New York and how they won't let them take the test in any language other than English. So if English is not your first language, oh, well, you're still taking the exam in English, right? And it may take me 6, 7 times before I pass it at that point, but that has nothing to do with me not being competent. It's just the fact that this is not my primary form of communication, my primary language. And so I know that we aren't that way, but if other people were to see us and do this, and they may want to adopt something, then I feel like it would be a domino effect that we would be responsible for other people perpetuating, more barriers and more systemic issues. And I don't want any part of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that anxiety piece, I don't know what other people's experiences were, but I do know that often, like, even our test sites are not in our backyard. So like, I've had a lot of clinicians even that work with me here in Northern Kentucky that have traveled to like take a test in Lexington. So you have the barrier of like, I can't drive there that morning. Maybe I might need to stay overnight so I can timely make it to my, yeah. And I honestly was actually pat down before I took the ASW,
Oh, yeah.
the ASWB, and actually they told me to take my very thin necklace off because it was like a form of like, I might. So actually the before experience, but before I even got to the test, makes me never want to take it again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, and that's not a board issue on our end.
Yeah.
That is a big issue on the testing provider's end.
Yeah.
But I definitely yeah, the anxiety piece is definitely, yeah.
Definitely there. Hang on a second.
Okay.
All right. I think we've done a good job on that one. Oh, I'll move on to the next item, which is the House Bill 424 passed and signed into law. And a key piece of that is establishing supervision with students in a clinical practicum. And I've asked Sydney to chair the ad hoc committee to help initiate drafting that reg, even though technically the law is not effective until July, but we might as well get started. And I think you had a couple ideas of who would be a field director involved because that's a requirement in the statute. So that would be a person. We would be looking at, of course, Mark gets stuck with it as he being on the committee.
Sorry, Mark.
All right.
Uh,
I am prepared.
is I've got a commitment from a placement, a placement and this person is an LCSW. So having placements, of course, you're in a placement too, but this would be a separate one.
Sure.
And then I would really like for us to recruit a student or two, to be honest, to help develop that. Mark and I have worked out, got some framework things that we can pass on to the committee and get the kick started, but so thank you for doing that. Again, we'll get that rolling and see how. Ain't no time limit. That's one thing you don't have to worry about. You don't have to have it done by a certain time.
Hank, can we make sure, I think it would be important for us to have an undergraduate social work program representative for student and a master's level.
I was just said that. I forgot to say, yes, I would like to see it on both levels if we could.
Yeah. And maybe the field person could be doing both.
Maybe the field, maybe, it says one, but we could have more than one, obviously. So again, place would play as well as, trying to get the whole scenario. So thank you. So
No problem.
all right, next is listening sessions. We haven't, so I just need everybody to think about those if we're going to do any of those this year. We've not set any dates or anything and topics. We've had a lot to do, so it's been one of those things that's kind of been there, but I just want to keep it on the agenda. So maybe next time, if we're not too big on much on everything else, we can brainstorm some ideas you think we need to listen. And it may be other issues we've already talked about today. Maybe just the issue of the compact or fees or whatever. And the next item, Mr. Brinkman.
I don't feel like we need to go into closed session, but this is the warrant and criminal summons matter before the Franklin District Court regarding the individual who would not stop contacting board staff about the dismissal of the complaint they filed. I appeared in court on April, nothing much happened on April 14th, and they continued the case till June 9th. So I'll bring back whatever happens at June 9th.
June 9th. So the case continues. The good news is that still, after filing this, all the harassing has stopped. So that's the good news. And we're not asking, it's kind of like just, minimum anything. So we're not asking for something burdensome. Thank you, Mr. Riggleman. New business. I put 2 laws on the new business part because they would be totally new to us. House Bill 185 requires the board to basically give a binding agreement, a certification that a person with a criminal background, that none of it at the time that they submit this, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Nichols, would prevent them from getting a license, or they could be told these are things that might prevent you from getting a license way before they finish their education and before they make an application. So we'll have to figure that out. We do have a time limit on that one. We have to have a regulation in place by January 1, or at least working on it, to submit to the legislature. So we will be working on that piece and making a determination whether or not that person also in that category would also have to get a background check and all those kind of things to, it could help us in the long run. And it says by the time they apply for a license, we would only be kind of looking at the time between they pre-applied, so to speak, to that time to make a determination. So if there was outstanding warrants like we had earlier or something like that, hopefully all of that's cleared up by the time that. I think it might be something too that we look at, how could we partner with education, because all our educational institutions, I am sure, Jess, and Whitney, you could probably remember, I'm sure you all do some kind of screening on that when people are admitted to the programs. So I don't know if we can work together to come up with something, but I think the reg itself, we would need to have some communication with the schools about how that's done, so we're not duplicating things for a potential applicant for license because they have to go to school first. The whole idea is a good idea. In other words, why should somebody invest in going to school, paying tuition, and then come out of school and be told, well, you can't get a license because of what's happened?
So is the idea behind the bill is that people are getting these degrees and not being told you may not be licensed? Because
It seems to be the push. Yeah, that seems to be where it came from. Yeah.
I'd love to know where that is, because or what profession that is, because I can't speak for everybody, but I know in social work, we are very clear with people. Like, I'm not telling you can't come and get this degree, but I am telling you, wherever you are from, you need to check with your state to make sure that you can still be licensed if you've got a criminal history or that kind of thing. And I mean, being on the applications committee, there's a lot of forgiveness and grace with who we are.
Well, now we'll have to have a formal process for that.
I think too, it might protect us because I know of at least one situation where someone was told, I know that for sure, but then didn't hear it. So I think that we sometimes run into that, and those people can get really loud and be like, nobody ever told me. Well, they can't verify that someone told them. And unless we're keeping record of it, we can't,
you put it on your application and you make them initial saying they know it.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what we did.
I know, but what I'm saying is when they come to the board,
Yeah, right.
we don't have a way to go back to their university and be like, we're pretty sure you told them this. Can you verify that you did? Because so that's why I'm saying is that's kind of outside of our purview. But I know at least one situation where a person went through 2 programs where I think I know they were told in one, and I would be 99% certain they were told in the second one also, but then they got to us and were mad because, well, you're blocking me. Well, if you go to 2 programs that are in different locations, it's hard. And I know that it's on the application for both of them. So anyway, it may protect us too in the long run. We may just have to be pretty broad with it.
Right. So I think probably what we would try to do is put this piece into our applications reg, so we don't have another reg. So we look to maybe amend our application reg to have this a separate section for this rather than a whole new reg number, et cetera, et cetera. So
because that could include more cost.
Potentially, yeah. So
we may need to think about that when we're adding fees and whatever.
Yep. So
does it have to be, is it just the state or is it a federal check? Do we know?
Well, that's the decision we have to make. The law now for licensing is a federal check. So we don't know whether,
And is it just background, or are we talking about a can check? And
we're talking about a background check including fingerprints.
Because a can check would be important, I would think. We don't know that they're not going to end up working with kids, and we would want to know.
Yeah, no. So, yeah.
And I want to know if somebody's on a sex offender registry. Somebody going to go look that up independently for me? That's just a lot.
Yeah, the background check should catch all of that. Yeah.
Should.
Yeah, I know.
Well, and if we require that they pay for those background checks as a step in getting a determination from us, that's on them.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but then we're talking about creating more barriers. It's more cost prohibitive for people then.
Well, that's already now in our law for licensing and renewal and reinstatements. I know it's already there. So there's, not a whole lot we can do on that. So
now Mark's going to find out who's terrible driver, because he's going to get all those. He's going to get all of those background checks that have people that have 30 speeding tickets in the last 3 years and lost their license. Because that's what you're going to get the majority of. It's speeding tickets.
Yeah. Okay, House Bill 459. The only thing it impacts us is we're going to get requests. We have to do data submissions to the state. That kicks in at 2 years or something like that. So anyway, that's the only other one right now that has some immediate impacts for us, so. All right, long agenda. Any other items that anybody needs to bring up for our agenda for discussion?
I do have one point of clarification.
Sure.
All right, so we talked about supervision a bit, and we talked about CEUs. I'm curious, and maybe this isn't a board issue, it's just a personal issue I should know the answer to, but I don't. If when people need to renew their, like if somebody is a clinical supervisor, and we have to take that the CEU in order to be a clinical supervisor, at what point does that expire? Is it at the point of your next renewal, or is it
Yep.
the point? Okay, so as soon as it's like, all right, so you got your renewal, so you need to immediately do that CEU again before you continue to supervise people.
Right. The difference is if you're new, if you're applying to be a new supervisor, you have to take the 6-hour course. To renew, you take a 3-hour course.
Okay.
During the 3 years of renewal, you don't have to do it the next day. Just sometimes before you renew your license.
Right. Well, I guess that's kind of my question. Is so they took the took the 3-hour whatever, and then they renew their test. At what point during that next 3-year cycle does the 3-hour need to be taken again? Like
just before the renewal date.
Okay. So
before you renew your license. Get that certificate and submit it on your CEs. When you do your renewal, list that as a CE.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Check the mark. That's what he said. Yep. Okay. All right. Good deal. All right. Anything y'all want to announce?
Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle with MSW in Ohio. Ohio does have a disqualifying list on their licensing activity on the same law pass. So if you want to look at their general list, that might be helpful. I did have a question about the exam regulation that you came up with. Is part of that also naming the exam as an ASWB exam or just saying a national?
No, it names the ASWB because the law says national exam, so the reg names it.
So your understanding is the reg has to be updated to match the law that passed that says ASWB?
No, the law doesn't say ASWB. The law says national exam now.
Right.
And this reg specifies what that is because obviously it's the only one right now.
Right. I would just encourage, because of everything that board members said about, what might happen in the future related to the exams. The compact specifically uses a national qualifying exam rather than naming ASWB to allow if another exam pops up in the future that you would have regulation.
We would have to change the regulation.
Right.
The compact has a rule now that names the ASWB exam as the national exam. This is the same.
Yeah.
We're in our system like the compact system.
There is a cohort of folks working on an alternative to the exam to create a national alternative potentially. And this is, years away, culture change years away. But just
yeah. Well, that's why it's worded similarly, because then it's the national exam and it says the board can approve it. So we can adopt that exam and amend the reg to put that one and say you could do either one or whatever. That's how we do that.
The Kentucky chapter will have Kentucky staff by the end of the calendar year, so we'll probably stop seeing me at some point and we'll have a Kentucky here. We are offering a free telehealth training to the requirements, so it's housed on
just on that requirement. When the law becomes effective in July, then the requirement goes away.
Okay.
Just FYI, so.
People are definitely after that training.
I know, but at the same time, the change in the statute, because it was too ambiguous as to who needed it, we've eliminated it because of that. So just FYI. There's a requirement right now in the statute about getting a 2-hour required telehealth. It doesn't say, do you get it once? Do you do it every renewal period? It's really ambiguous. So in the law that's just passed, we are eliminating it completely. Yeah. So as of whenever, I guess July 10th or whatever, when the law is effective. After that, then it's not required. It's okay to be on there until the law is effective. With the law change, we have to take it off the website. Yeah, again.
In the meantime, Danielle, what's your website so I can share that?
It's NASWKY.socialworkers.org. And the CU stuff is all housed in this.
NASWKY.socialworkers.org. Thanks.
We'll also be working, and I know you all offer really great, exam prep course. We'll have, an option for folks to watch an asynchronous version as well on our website soon. Our biggest work now is really just to figure out what we're doing in Kentucky. So if folks want to talk to us about what you would like to see from the chapter, we will be doing, this is of course the planning process. So I will be sending out emails and asking people to talk, but I'm always happy to make any connections to anyone who would like to talk about what you would like to see from myself.
Good, thank you. I heard a rumor. You applied for the public member of the board. I know, you have to wait. Anyway, hope that happens, and when you come, you get a per diem for coming. I'll be glad to have you on board if that should happen. I hope so. Anyway, anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Bye, everybody.
I need a second.
Second.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Aye. Goodbye. Thank you all so much. Be careful out there.
Aye.
Yeah.
Thanks. So I'm thinking about you done wrong. I know I was working on one, so I also thought.